race fans, and welcome to another broadcast by the CAVOK Racing Network. And tonight we're pleased to bring you another exciting pair of races from the Sunday Night Skippy League. I'm Peter Lee, and we have something a little bit new because we're in the final weeks of summer, and of course family obligations, vacations, and even illness sometimes strikes not only drivers but also broadcast crews. And so tonight we won't have our great commentator and camera person Pim Luth. I will be here, Peter Lee, in the booth on my own to bring you this exciting racing action. I'll have to apologize in advance. We won't have, of course, the wonderful camera work that we've all grown to love from Pim, but we'll do our best to give you all of the action that happens tonight. We are in the midst of the qualifying session, about 3 minutes into a 10-minute qualifying session for our Skippy Formula 2 race here at the Winton Motor Speedway. We are in virtual Winton, Australia, which is in the Victoria part of Australia. This is a wonderful little track. It's actually not that little, although it feels little when you drive on it. It's actually a full 3 kilometers. That's about 1.9 miles in freedom units. But it's extremely technical. There is a long front straight, and then after that, a series of very, very technical segments that allow you to lose and swap ends, just as you've seen Jake Gaucher do there in his qualifying. And we're going to have to watch out very, very carefully just to see how these drivers, first off, try to keep their cars pointed in the right direction, but also how they work to set up passes throughout this extremely tight and technical track. It should be a pretty exciting race. Drivers in Skippy Formula 2 are lapping in the low 130 and 131 range. And so in this 35-minute race, we should actually see quite a bit of action. The race format is 35 minutes, but fuel is limited, and that will cause all of these drivers to pit for fuel at least twice during the race. And so it's not just a sprint for 35 minutes, but actual strategy around when and how to take on fuel is going to come into play. And of course, the technique to minimize your time in the pit lane, to take on the minimum amount of fuel to lose as little time as possible also comes into play. And so these drivers absolutely have to be completely well-rounded as they work around this track. The other element of this race, of course, is that this is race number 11 in the 12-race season for Skippy Formula 2. And that means that the season championship is really now coming down to crunch time. With the graduation of Kurt Smith from this developmental Skippy Formula 2 race series up to Skippy Formula 1, we have a tight 3-way battle for the season championship. In fact, only 10 points separates the 3 leaders, Jake Gaucher, Melody Chance, and Dan Pagowski. And so all 3 of those drivers will be looking to make something good happen in this race today because amongst those 3, really it's anyone's season championship up for grabs. Right now, all the drivers are trying to complete their qualifying laps. In this 10-minute qualifying session, each driver gets to log up to 4 flying laps, and the best clean lap of those 4 is going to set the qualifying order. Right now, we're seeing Melody Chance provisionally in the pole position, but drivers still have some laps left to go, and you're just seeing, as drivers cross the start-finish line, some pretty good and interesting times come along. Here we're watching Melody Chance as she comes around. That's the turn 3-4 complex, and this is really entering into this back section of the course. Really incredibly technical. Just a fun little track, much faster and trickier than you'd expect. The track is flat, but actually you can make use of the curbs in some sections of the course in order to improve the rotation of the car. And then there is a little bit of a tricky pit entry that has a tight right-hander right at the end before you enter the pit stall lane. And so we're going to see if these drivers can negotiate that with as much speed, but also without really causing any accidents. As we're seeing Barry Stockdale also now has claimed the provisional pole. All these drivers are still making their way around, trying to complete their qualifying laps. One thing about these Skip Barber Formula 2000 cars is they have tremendous slip angle. And because of that, you're going to see a lot of pretty wild-looking kind of tail-happy cars as they go around these corners. It's going to be just so important for these drivers to not lose too much grip, not lose too much momentum, but still get the cars turned around these tight corners as much as possible. And so we can see some of the drivers have completed their 4 laps and are slowing down, just taking a breath. We're about 9 minutes now into this 10-minute qualifying session, but you only get to log 4 flying laps, at which point you get to just take it easy, take a little bit of a spin, as we just saw there by Jose Casillas. Here we see Dan Pogowski. Looks like he's just coming in slowly on a cool-down lap back into the pits. At the end of the qualifying session, there'll be a driver's briefing. They'll go over any special rules, any special considerations that are unique to this track. Remind everyone of the Sunday Night Skippy league rules. There's a thing in this the culture of this league called the league mentality. These drivers have to race hard against each other week after week. And so there are real rivalries that form in this league, but at the same time, real respect and a real camaraderie. You get the feeling on the league Discord that these drivers actually like each other, actually show affection for each other, and it's just a wonderful thing to see. And so it does appear now that the qualifying session has ended, and that will give us a chance in just a moment to show the overall grid.
Hey, Peter, how's it going tonight?
Hi, Chris. It's so wonderful to see you join.
I saw you. I saw you in here. For those of you who don't know, as we get ready to grid here, looks like Josuo is going to be given the pre-race briefing. Peter flew solo earlier today for BRL, and did a fantastic job. But I know how difficult that is, so I thought I'd jump in here and at least get through the SF2. I was just while you were chatting there, I noticed a couple high performers in qualifying tonight. Melody Chance averages about 8th on the starting position, and obviously taking the pole only 2 races off her last and first victory in Sunday Night Skippy Formula 2. And Barry Stockdale also averages of finishing, or I'm sorry, a starting position around 8th. And he's going to be sitting there on the outside pole. So great job by those two.
Absolutely fantastic, and very important for Melody Chance as she's battling with Dan Pogowski and Jake Gaucher for the season standings lead. But then we have in P3 David Foy, Dixon Davenport, Michael Reebok. That's your top 5. Then Dan Pogowski, Rich Butler, Michael Othon, Daniel Dion, Jake Gaucher, Matt Malicki, Joe Zubo, Jose Casillas, and Scott Olson. And that is your field of 14. And
It's going to be
so, Chris, it has been quite a summer, work-wise for us, family obligations, illnesses. But the thing that we always try to do is to be a part of this wonderful community of Sunday Night Skippy.
Yeah, absolutely. You nailed it on the head. And I know this means a lot to a lot of people. I think you brought that up earlier today, and so anything that we can do to make that and a little more special, have the drivers be able to share that this kind of hobby and interest and competition with their families and their friends. We understand exactly how much that means. So even if it's a little difficult, we definitely try to make it out here and just talk about the race with everybody and hope they enjoy it. And I know we've already, like you said, it's the summertime just seems like it just makes everything a little more difficult to make it out. But I know that even then, this is it's almost humbling that this is a high priority for people to come out and try to race every Sunday night, even if they've got stuff going on. So we see you guys and hope that you appreciate the races tonight because this is a fun little track to race a Skippy around.
Absolutely. And so we do see some of the cars starting to grid. I believe the driver's briefing is still going on, although the drivers are perfectly able to listen to that while they grid. But as soon as that is over, then they will set a 1-minute warning for the start of the race.
Absolutely. And yeah, I apologize. I was trying to talk over Joe there. I'm on a little bit of a different setup than I normally am tonight, so you're gonna have to apologize while I kind of work my way through just as you are with your stream. And yeah, but this is good. Looks like we're done. Gridding has been set to 1 minute. We've got our 1-minute warning, and we're getting ready to go racing here in Australia.
Absolutely. And so we have our pole sitter, Melody Chance, having just gridded, and we're just waiting, I believe, for Barry Stockdale to grid next to her, and that will complete our field. So Barry was having, I believe, some technical issues with his virtual reality setup, so I'm hoping that that is not the cause of his delay and that he makes it onto the field before the race start.
You always hate that. I mean, obviously you're gonna have mechanical issues in real racing, but it's just a heartbreaker when you have computer type issues.
Absolutely.
in iRacing as
And
well.
I do now see him on the grid, and so that is great to see.
Speaking of which, looks like the lights are about to go on or out or whatever, and here we go.
And they are off as they go down this front straight.
Nobody getting any sort of advantage there, but it will be a left-hander, which gives Melody the chance to take that commanding lead now over Barry Stockdale, who had to kind of back out a little bit. We're going 2x2 racing, a couple rows behind Barry. These guys still not getting a whole lot of separation from one another. And we got another car off track there. David Foy.
David Foy. And it did look like there might have been some contact that caused him to go off track. But no worse for wear. Just lost a few positions and back on track.
And unfortunately, it looks like Rich Butler, who I believe won last week at Nordschleife, he is crashed. I'm trying to, we don't need to go there necessarily, but I'll try to give you all a sense of what he did. But unfortunate start there for the race winner.
Well, meanwhile, we do have Melody Chance having gotten off to a great start. Barry Stockdale retaining his P2 position. Dixon Davenport now inherits P3 over David Foy, and Dan Pikowski in P4.
One thing. Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
One thing I wanted to tell our regular viewers is you'll notice the retro Sunday Night Skippy logo.
We're going old school, baby. Well, great racing here. Daniel Dion, David Foy in the 8th and 9th positions right now. This is the closest battle we've got on track, and it looks like David Foy, after that initial off track there, he's still down 6 spots, trying to make that all back up as quickly as possible. He does, let's see, we'll keep an eye on him. I'll keep an eye on his intervals here and see how much room he's making up. His next driver to beat here is Michael Othon, 0.8 seconds ahead right now.
Just sitting here on David Foy's roll bar, you can just get a sense of just how tight and technical this course is. Here, the drivers are shifting all the way from 4th gear down to 1st gear to make that right-hander, up to 2nd, then back down again to 1st gear. Quick shift up to 2nd, back down to 1st gear as they round this third in that sequence of 3 hairpin corners.
Quick note, Matt Malicki with just a little bit of an off track there. Unfortunately going to lose some ground off the tail end, but seems to have saved the car just fine. Looking to track down Scott Olson. Well, that commanding battle, or lead, sorry, that's Melody had at one point has now become a battle, is what I was trying to say there, with Dixon Davenport looking on. These 3, the podium, have kind of separated themselves from Dan Pogowski there in 4th place by a second and a half, as Dixon Davenport just set the purple lap for the evening, so both Barry and Dixon trying to chase Melody down. And, oh, am I live? See, this is the problem with bootleg setups, but I think we're good here. That is all accurate, what I just said, even though it kind of looked wrong just for a second. But yeah, keep an eye on this. And just a little further back here, that Dan Pogowski is leading a pack of 3, who we were just talking about there, Michael Reback and Jake Ashe. And this is also heating up here for 4th position.
Here we're sitting David Pogowski, Jake Ashe, and Jake Ashe is just trying to find a way around Michael Reback to get up to Dan Pogowski. Now that is a battle for a season championship, possibly. Jake Ashe really in the catbird seat there, but he's under threat from both Dan and Melody Chance, and so he'll be eager to get past Michael Reback in any way possible. But you can see here just how tight and twisty this is.
Big off there. Joe Zubo, I got to go back and look. Daniel Dion potentially was involved in that.
Should we take a look at the replay on this?
It does look, so Daniel Dion, I believe that was him. Or maybe that's Joe. No, I'm looking at Joe Zubo. Yeah, I believe that was Daniel Dion. Got loose around the corner, and Joe Zubo snuck into the inside there, and there was just nowhere to go. They made contact. We'll see how much impact that has on their Skip Barber Formula 2000s.
Well, meanwhile, back up front, Dixon Davenport has gotten around Barry Stockdale. And so now Dixon Davenport is in P2. Barry Stockdale in P3, but the battle between Barry Stockdale and Dixon Davenport has really given Melody a chance to gap those two. And Melody is now, a good 1.2 seconds ahead of this battle for P2 between Dixon Davenport and Barry Stockdale.
That's exactly right, as Melody now owns the purple lap of the evening, although Dixon Davenport wants to have a say about that as the interval continues to tick down.
Right. One of the newcomers to Skippy Formula 2, Jose Casillas, has really been showing some good, steady driving. He's running in P11 right now, but looking ahead to Matt Malicki, and is just looking pretty fast. Now, one thing about these Skippy Formula 2000 cars is that they do have quite a draft effect, although the straights on this course are not that long, so it doesn't really help you that much in terms of setting up a pass, but it does allow you to kind of close up a gap. For example, on this long front straight, as we see Jose Casillas kind of close up the gap to Matt Malicki ahead.
Quick strategy note here, Michael Reback, Dan Pogowski, and Jake Ashe all down pit road.
Well, no surprise, at least about Jake Ashe. We're used to him taking in an early pit stop, but Dan Pogowski, that's new for him. We're normally used to seeing Dan Pogowski stretch out his fuel stints as long as possible. So very interesting that he's trying an undercut here.
I wonder how disappointed Jake was when he realized the guys in front of him were also coming in. They are back out now, though. Of course, they're going to be, but for Rich Butler, who is still, I believe, in the pits. They are running 11th, 12th, and 13th, last on the track right now, but they have pits, so.
All right, Barry Stockdale is just hounding Dixon Davenport, just really wants that P2 back. And he's just finding it hard to find a good place to make up this pass as they round the final of 10 corners in this track. This is the front straight, and you'll see coming up here at the end of this front straight is really probably the best opportunity for pass. If you can outbrake on the inside here into the chicane, looks like Barry's not going to try it here. Oh, and Barry goes very wide and takes a spin, and that's really going to be a big relief to Dixon Davenport. David Foy now goes past, along with Michael Othon.
Tell you who doesn't like that is Melody Chance. That might have been a good chance for her to stay out in front with these two going wheel to wheel, but now Dixon Davenport can focus all eyes forward, all two eyes, I guess, all attention forward, and try to track down that number 6 machine.
That's absolutely right. And well, let's look back at this Canadian contingent, starting with Daniel Dion in P9, followed by Dan Pogowski in P10, and Michael Reback in P11. Mike Reback also has Jake Ashe in his rearview mirrors, and here we see Mike Reback getting inside position. I believe that's turn 7 on Dan Pogowski, but Dan is able to kind of defend and reclaim that position. But boy, that is a hard battle between those two cars, and Jake Ashe just lying in wait for something bad to happen there.
Yeah, I was wondering, I haven't raced this one in the Skippy, and we kind of talked with a prospective road driver, maybe Skippy driver specifically, because he likes drafty cars, and we were like, we got the car for you. But I don't know that this track specifically, other than that front stretch like you were talking about there, Peter, I don't know if you really can fully get the full impact as we look for a Michael Reback, Dan Pogowski. You're going to go side by side.
Yeah, now this is interesting. Dan is taking a defensive inside line, but Michael Reback is going to then inherit the preferred inside line on the exit of the chicane and easily makes the pass as they come to turn 3. Well, and the pressure is not over for Dan Pogowski, unfortunately. Now he has Jake Ashe in his rearview mirrors.
Yeah, that's your reward for the pass there, is you get a Jake Ashe on your tail. That's not great. Well, back out.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, back out front there. So once again, those 3 drivers are the only ones who have pit. Everybody else has yet to come in and make their first pit stop here. Melody Chance's lead has shrunk to 0.7 seconds. Dixon Davenport had inherited the purple lap, fastest lap of the evening last lap. Let's see if he can't do it again. He can at a 1:30.24. So he continues to speed up, even though Melody's setting green laps, which is personal bests. Dixon setting track bests.
Well, Dixon Davenport, he's been showing real speed, race-winning speed, and it just hasn't yet come together. Melody Chance had been doing that, but she did get her first race win in Sunday Night Skippy 2 weeks ago. But that's got to be going through Dixon Davenport's mind, that it's got to be his turn coming up. And, back in P3, even though now David Foy is full 9 seconds behind Dixon Davenport in P3, David Foy is another one who's just been showing serious speed and wanting to also kind of notch his first win.
His laps have been a little bit faster than the leader as well, but as you can recall, lap 1 off track, he's fought his way back to his starting position, and he was at least 6 positions down at one point. I'm sure it was more. That's just what I happened to catch there when I looked over, but we'll see what the 67 car has in store for all these folks. Back to your point about Dixon Davenport about to come together, his average finish this season is 3rd place. Can you imagine averaging a finish on the podium and not yet having a win? I'm sure he's hungry for it.
That's right. I think it does really make you hungry, and it's at this point, he's lapping about the same as Melody Chance, and what could make the difference for those 2 drivers is how well they manage their 2 pit stops, and so we'll want to keep an eye on that. We do see Barry Stockdale, Michael Othon, and Matt Malicki now all entering the pit lane. for their first of 2 refueling stops.
All right, packs of 3 seems to be what we got here. So let's see if that trend continues. But here you go. That's going to leave Chance, Davenport, Foy, Olson, Casillas, and Dion as your drivers who have not pit.
Speaking of Scott Olson, he's our hard charger. He's lapping pretty much all by himself, but in 4th place, up 10 spots. He had qualified dead last in this field, and he's worked his way up to P4. Really doing well here, and setting some pretty fast laps. Last one in the mid 131 range, and so it'll be interesting to watch and see if he can keep that up. And right behind him, Jose Casillas is up 8 spots from where he qualified, now running in P5.
Yeah, Scott's only raced with us once, started 15th, finished 12th, and so that's a really great showing from him. I got a battle here for Dan Pagowski and Jake Ashe. I should have focused in on that a little earlier. Looks like Dan maybe had smoked the, right front there just a little bit. Jake has just been hounding his gearbox there, really getting a good look, and just nothing doing so far. I don't know if that's Jake feels like he's got something for Dan, or they're just happy to, draft and work together. I say that now. Jake's going to look to the inside. So clearly not. Clearly not.
That's a very, very dangerous corner. You can see how wide Dan goes. He's barely able to keep it on the track, but maintains his lead. Now, this is probably the best shot right here at the end of the straight. If Jake wants to take a stab on the inside, looks like...
I thought maybe he might have, but his move to the outside there just wasn't doing or
right.
time. But there you go. We got drivers back out on the track after their pit stops. Right now, Melody Chance, Dixon Davenport, Scott Olson are the only 3 who have not pit. So we'll see if the rule of 3s continues to apply to the race here tonight at Winton.
We do expect Melody Chance and Dixon Davenport, our race leaders, to pit shortly. In fact, just as we call it, they're coming in. And so they've really had 2 long initial fuel stints. And now this is as we've been talking about, another part of the skill of driving in Skippy Formula 2 is how well you manage these pit stops.
Yeah, it's something that you're not going to get there in the public races. Scott Olson, by the way, is staying out. So he will inherit the lead here, presumably, and very long initial fuel stint for him. But the pit stops are not something that's if you just got an iRacing subscription, it's just not part of the racecraft that you're going to find doing public races. You're going to have to come here to SNS to enjoy that.
And it does look like Melody Chance actually created a 2-second gap over Dixon Davenport in that pit stop. So very good on her. Now, of course, that's assuming that she took on a full fuel load. If not, then she'll have to pay back some time on her second refueling stop.
Yeah, it was about a second difference. Melody Chance's pit stop time was 12.85, whereas Dixon's was 13.9. So about a second more in the actual pit lane, or pit stall, I should say, for Dixon, and then an additional second on pit road. So Melody a little bit more efficient on pit road.
So we'll want to keep an eye on the gap. It's right now a 2-second gap between Melody Chance and Dixon Davenport. Right behind Dixon Davenport, we see Michael Reback. Michael running in 4th. And then this pack of cars, Dan Pagowski, Jake Ashe, David Foy, Barry Stockdale, in chase from P6, from P5 on down.
Well, Scott Olson is coming down pit road now, so we'll see where he ends up shaking out. But Melody just passing him right now on pit road at full speed going down the front stretch.
Well, meanwhile, this pack of Dan Pagowski, Jake Ashe, David Foy, Barry Stockdale also manages to get past Scott Olson. And then right behind them, Matt Malecki, also now inheriting P8, and Michael Othon in chase. And Michael is a newcomer. We've mentioned before, he's actually the father of Skippy Formula One driver Alex Othon, and just showing instant speed for a new driver here. And here we see Michael really trying to hunt down Matt Malecki, and that'll be a battle to watch. It's about a 1 second gap between those two cars right now in the battle for P8.
And apologies to Michael if I end up calling him Alex. Clearly we see where Alex gets it, but yeah, whenever I see the oath on there, just kind of, I regurgitate Alex. So,
right.
But yeah, that's Michael Oath on there that you see, and oh shoot, I was gonna make another point. It looks like Dixon Davenport has closed the gap just a little bit, but to your point, this whole group here, starting with Dan Pagowski, is also starting to tighten up just a little bit. So, not to make you jump around too much there, Barry Stockdale is part of that group, and he now has the fastest lap of the evening with a 1:30.03. Let's see if we can get below that 1:30. And as I say that, Dixon Davenport's going to do just that, 1:29.88 across the start-finish line.
Yeah, Barry Stockdale has just been in this, I think you can call it the draft train here, being led right now by Dan Pagowski. But Dan Pagowski, Jake Osher, David Foy in front of Barry Stockdale. It is the case that if you have more than one car in front of you like this, that the draft effect is even stronger. And so Barry might be benefiting from that. He could even be saving fuel, which could really help minimize his second pit stop time. We'll have to see if that pays off for him. And well, back up front, Melody Chance now has lost that gap. It's now less than 0.3 of a second over Dixon Davenport.
Yeah, he's within striking distance. He gets it down on quarter entry there to about 0.2 seconds or so, and you can see him getting a good run off of there. He's going to go down to the inside. You talked about this being dangerous. We saw Jake looking here earlier and had to back out. Melody giving him plenty of room, though, as they come around the final turn. And is able to make that work, yeah.
Really well done. What's interesting here is you would think that taking the inside cover is better, but that sacrifices then the preferred inside line on the exit of this right-left chicane. And so Melody did exactly the right thing. Wasn't drawn into trying to cover the inside of the entry of turn one. And that allowed her to keep her lead over Dixon Davenport and Michael Reback.
I was going to say, don't look now, but Michael Reback's sitting there in third spot. We've mentioned him before, but as kind of middle of the pack earlier in the race, and he has clawed his way up here into that podium spot and within striking distance of Dixon Davenport and Melody Chance.
Oh, we have had a crash of some sort. Let's take a look. Dan Pagowski? No, that's...
I believe that's pit entry. Yeah, it was triggering
entry
for me there too.
Yes.
So Dan Pagowski is coming down. I was going to bring that up. Dan Pagowski down for his second pit stop. So he came in early the first time, coming in early the second time. The other thing I want to bring up, Scott Olson, we talked about him. He had led the race, got passed by a lot of people. He had he spent 21 seconds, almost 22 seconds in his pit stall, 50 seconds on pit road. So I don't know if maybe he forgot to uncheck tires or something like that, but you talked about just like little things that can add up just like that. I'm sure he's be curious to see what happened, but I'm sure he's kicking himself right there.
Meanwhile, we see Jake Osher has managed to now inherit P4 because of Dan Pagowski taking that pit stop. Now Jake Osher is coming in for his second pit stop. And so it'll be interesting to see if Dan Pagowski comes around ahead of Jake Osher, or if Jake was able to get a little bit of a faster lap without Dan Pagowski in front of him.
Well, and also Michael Reback, who was sitting there in third, came down pit road for his second pit stop, leaving this battle for the lead between just Melody and Dixon. So kind of noped out of that one and hoping for a little bit of an undercut and gain an advantage in pit road versus on the track, because these two would be very, very difficult to pass.
Meanwhile, Dan Pagowski is coming down the front straight. Jake Osher is not going to come out ahead. And so, in fact, the undercut seems to have worked really well for Dan Pegowski.
Great to see the, and we got a battle here. Matt Malicki and Michael Othon, P5, P6. I actually got that right this time. Matt Malicki up 6 spots, Michael up 2, and these guys had some side-by-side racing there for just a little bit. Looks like they're going to settle down just a touch with Malicki taking that spot, or keeping that spot, I should say.
You know, one of the discussions on the league Discord has been the low participation in the public official races on iRacing at this track. And it's been a little bit of a mystery because it takes quite a few laps, but once you put in the time on this track, it just turns out to be such a great track for these skippies. And but somehow the general racing public that doesn't really specialize in these Skip Barber Formula 2000 cars seems not to have discovered that. And so that was a big discussion. But you can kind of get a sense just watching the race at how well this thing really accommodates these cars.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we all know the Skippy's dead here anyway, so. But we will be here to bring it to you every Sunday night, so don't you worry at home. Plenty of Skippy action to come for many, many years, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Well, for the viewers that didn't get the inside joke that Chris just gave there, every year there is a new open wheel race car that iRacing introduces, sometimes 2 or more, and every year the discussion is, will that be the open wheel racer, the new one, the shiny new one in iRacing that will finally kill off the Skip Barber Formula 2000 car? And it's literally an annual discussion. And
it wouldn't be a new year without that discussion.
Yep.
But people forget Dale Jr.'s favorite car, so I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon. You know who I do see someone going somewhere right now is Dixon Davenport on the inside of Melody Chance.
Boy, this is going to be very, very close. And you see now Melody has...
Oh, they're going to touch again!
Oh! And Melody now has inside position on the exit of the chicane and on these next 2 corners.
I can't tell if they... I've got the bump video on, so I can't tell 100% if they touched, but that is some good, tight, close racing.
Wow.
I'm sure there'll be some discussion about that after, but...
Yes.
Or analysis. I'm not saying anything
I've
I've
never
personally.
raced Dixon Davenport, but I've raced Melody Chance many times, and I can tell you she is absolutely fearless wheel-to-wheel racing. You know, if she wasn't such a specialist in these open wheel races, you would just bet anything that she was bred and raised on cup cars.
Stock cars, yeah. Come on over. Well, I'll tell you what. Michael Reback, just a quick strategy discussion here. Michael Reback and Dan Pegowski are your top cars that have pit twice right now. Looks like Michael Reback's gap is 32.8 seconds up to Melody Chance, so that's going to be tight. It's going to be close.
Quick update then on Jake Ashe. We're seeing Jake Ashe in P13. Presumably he has also pit twice, but it'll be interesting to see what he'll be able to do from here on out. He's got a long way to go. And he's definitely a driver to watch. Really, with Kurt Smith having been bumped up to the Formula One series, Jake is really our season standings leader here right at the moment, but really running in the last place at this moment, with other cars still, of course, having to pit for fuel. The other driver in the hunt for the season standings lead is Dan Pegowski, right now running in P7. No traffic around him. And the third driver, of course, is Melody Chance in the race of her life with Dixon Davenport.
Yeah, it is the closest racing we have on track right now, but for Daniel Dion and Michael Reback. But effectively, this is not a race for position because, unfortunately for Daniel, he needs to come down pit road at least one more time. And
Oh,
we're coming in on. There you
Dixon
go,
Davenport is coming into the pits for his second stop. Okay. And so he's decided that he can't pass Melody on track and that his best shot will be to try to do it on this refueling stop. And then we'll have to keep a close eye and see if that works out.
Also down, David Foy, Barry Stockdale.
This is going to allow Michael Reback to now move up several spots, possibly up to P2, P3 behind Melody Chance and Dixon Davenport. So Michael is having a great race here.
He came out a little bit behind Dixon there. You could tell. I think he was probably a little bit closer when he went into pit road. But I'd say overall, pretty good win there for Michael Reback. He knew that it was going to be tough to pass those drivers anyway. Took a shot, and I'd say it ultimately kind of evened out. But we'll see what happens here when Melody Chance comes down pit road at some point.
You should expect Melody to come in possibly on this lap. Let's see. And indeed, she enters the pit lane.
32 seconds the gap back to Dixon Davenport.
So Dixon Davenport and Michael Reback both have a chance to get past Melody Chance if they're able to round these last three corners.
Melody still rolling slowly, probably painfully down pit road. Has to put just a slightly less fuel than the other guys did.
That's right. Meanwhile, Dixon Davenport and Michael Reback have rounded the last corner.
She's out. Unbelievable.
And
I think this is going to settle in on about a 5 or 6 second.
That is a fantastic pit stop. And boy, Melody has just solidified with less than 5 minutes remaining in this race, has just really solidified her lead over Dixon Davenport.
I hope she has the fuel to make it because we've got about 4 seconds less time in her pit stall than Dixon and I can do fast math here. 7 seconds less than Michael Reback.
Wow.
Now, granted, Michael Reback came in a lot sooner, but 1 lap difference for 4 seconds, and then beat them on pit road overall by 6 and 8 seconds respectively. So that's why you see such a big gap.
Well, it's a great question you're asking, because we saw it even last week. Race leader Lear Ovtcharov in his stop did not take on enough fuel and had to come in again. And you can get just a little over anxious in telling your crew to stop fueling.
Yeah, it's tough when you see him coming around the final couple turns there. You just wanted him to go. But you know what? We'll see what happens. We'll see how it shakes out. Right now, though, the battle for second is on like Donkey Kong. We've got Dixon Davenport, Michael Reback. 0.6 seconds separate them. Michael Reback's been just slowly reeling that 2-car in. Everybody else fairly well spaced out, and the only driver who has not hit the second time right now is Scott Folsom. After that initial pit stop issues. Can't wait to see what happened there, but yeah, we're here to the end, passing 32 minutes here shortly, so there'll be about 3 minutes remaining, another 2-3 laps here at most.
I guess there is another battle here between Michael Othon and Daniel Dion that is starting to brew. I've been just watching the gap to Michael Othon from Daniel Dion just closing up. It is now only about 3/4 of a second. And so Daniel is definitely wanting that top 10 finish. He's only got a few laps to go. Only less than 3 minutes left in this race. And Michael Othon is between Daniel Dion and a top 10 finish.
Well, we watch that battle unfold. I want to say Jake Gaucher is down in 12th after being competitive all race long. He had a 53-second pit stop on his
Mm,
last stop there, so I'm not, again, 100% sure what happened, but
boy, that sounds like a speed limit violation in the pit lane,
mm,
and that's a killer. I think that's normally a 40-second stop penalty,
yep.
and that will really ruin your race, and that's really unfortunate for Jake.
Well, as we start to tick down the laps here to the last couple, Melody Chan still in the lead, Dixon Davenport in second, pulling away from Michael Reback, at least for the moment. We've got a string of Canadians here. Michael Reback, David Foy in fourth, Dan Pegowski in fifth, and Barry Stockdale in sixth. And then we're going to have Matt Malicki, Joe Zubo, Michael Othon, Daniel Dion, Scott Olson down pit road for right now. And 11th, Jay Gaucher, Jose Casillas, who came down a third time down pit road. And then Rich Butler, who remains out of the race for right now.
Your comment about Canadians, and I mentioned it too, that's become quite the thing in Skippy Formula 2. There are 6 drivers, 6 out of the 14 drivers in today's field who hail from Canada, which is really quite the amazing thing. And it'll be interesting just to see if they do a clean sweep, although Dixon Davenport is holding down P2 pretty well, and so
He's closing a little bit, but I just don't know that they have the time because we're down now to this is probably the white flag lap. I didn't see when Melody actually crossed the line, but
yeah, I'm pretty sure
we're
it
down to
is.
20 seconds remaining, so I don't
Yes.
think she's gonna make it around unless she puts the old DRS system on. I think this should be the last lap.
Oh, she has a commanding 5-second lead over Dixon Davenport, and really, it's just a matter of bringing it home, keeping it on the track here for Melody Chance.
We'll keep an eye on that. The battle here between Dana Dion and Michael Othon remains about 0.6 seconds. And that's about it. We're pretty well stretched out here. This should be, barring some last-minute mistakes or penalties, how it's going to end. Melody's got 3 more corners to go before claiming her second ever SNS SF2 league victory.
Melody has really come on strong. This will be her second race win in this Skippy Formula 2 season 7. Last corner coming up. And her hard work has really paid off as she crosses the start-finish line, claim her second win of the season. Dixon Davenport coming right behind, and Michael Reback. David Foy, good recovery from that first lap incident, to come in 5th. Dan Pegowski in 5th. That was 4th for David Foy, 5th for Dan Pegowski. Barry Stockdale, Matt Malecki, and then Joe Zubo coming around to the last corner in 8th. Daniel Dion, Michael Othon. Daniel Dion did get past Michael Othon on this last lap. Michael's going to try to drag race him to the finish line, but is not going to have enough. That will give Daniel Dion a P9 finish, Michael Othon P10. Jake Gaucher, because of what we presume was a pit speed limit violation penalty, coming in 11th, and then Scott Olson around in P12. And then we have Jose Casillas and Rich Butler I presume have not finished.
It looks like Jose did end up just coming down pit road there. I'm not sure what happened. Probably go back and check, but yeah, great Great race. Really enjoyed watching that. There was some great battles throughout the field, and drivers trying to switch it up just a little bit to gain a little bit advantage here or there. But this is a tough track, and it looks like we've got the ceremonial formation crash occurring right now, which is always a crowd pleaser, crowd favorite here. SF2, good sportsmanship, and that's what I like to see. Great to see out of the drivers there.
Absolutely. And, that formation lap is just something that these drivers do. It's a show of good sportsmanship, chance for people to talk about the race and then crash together. We do actually have our race winner, Melody Chance, in the broadcast booth. Melody, congratulations. What a great drive.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So,
Yeah,
Melody, this is your second win of the season. You must be feeling pretty good about how your driving's been coming along. What's been making the difference for you?
An absurd amount of practice. I've been practicing really hard, doing a lot of telemetry analysis over the week. And it's not something I've really done before until I had a serious shot at a podium for the championship this season. So that's what sort of kicked me into gear personally, and it's been really making a difference, I guess.
Well, fantastic. One thing we noticed also is that your pit stops seem to give you advantages over Dixon Davenport, who is really hunting you down at some points in the race, maybe even look a little faster on track than you. Is that also something you've been working on?
Oh yeah, 100%. I have the same sort of pit strategy every week. I think I talked about it last time at Zandvoort, but um, yeah, I try to be as efficient as possible in my pit stops. And as soon as I saw the gap that opened up after my second stop, uh, I knew that it mattered.
Well, so now we have our second place finisher, Dixon Davenport. Dixon, congratulations on a great P2 finish.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, Dixon, you'll get a chance to see it on the broadcast replay later, but we were talking about just your raw speed, and your average finishes have just been just out of this world. It just seems like you're overdue for a race win. Do you think that's going to come soon?
I was hoping for it today, but Melody's right. When that second pit stop happened and seeing the gap open at 6 seconds, I thought there was no way to overcome that. So maybe eventually. It's just continued participation and just trying to make it out to all the races. So maybe one day soon.
Right. This track is looks like a really hard one to make a pass on. Were there moments when you thought you could make a move, or was it just a little too tight?
Yeah, there were a couple of them down that front straight. I appreciate Melody, and I know there was a little bit of contact there. I apologize for that. I think we both kind of came side by side, and I'm glad that there was no, permanent damage or any kind of loss of pace after that. But I tried to find an opportunity, and I just couldn't find it. She was so consistent. So great job, Melody.
Thank you. You
Well,
too.
we can thank both of you for doing that, because that makes for great broadcast material when you do that.
I can't wait to go back and watch it, honestly. So.
And to complete our podium, we have our third place finisher, Michael Rebeck. Michael, congratulations. P3, I know you're still angling for a race win, but P3's got to feel pretty good, and you ran such a great, consistent race. Tell us a little bit
Yeah,
about it.
thank you very much. Thank you very much, Peter. It's my first podium. I've been working so hard for it, so it feels great. I thought I maybe had a shot at Dixon there at the end, getting in the draft, and then he just pulled away. I was pushing as hard as I could.
Yeah, it did look like you were pushing, but you also just look rock solid consistent, and I think that's really starting to pay off, and the speed's going to come for that race win.
Yeah, these guys are quick, but I hope maybe someday soon.
Well, why don't we just give each of you a quick chance to thank anyone you'd like to thank, or any shout-outs to give. We'll go in the reverse order here. Michael, any shout-outs or thank yous you'd like to give out?
Shout out to my soon-to-be wife for letting me put a sim rig in our living room. She supports me and she watches every race. So thanks, Kendra. I love you.
Well, fantastic. And congratulations, Kendra. That podium finish, I think, is just as much yours as it is Michael's.
Hi, Kendra.
Dixon, any shout outs?
Yeah, again, I think last time I was on here, the PTC Driving Academy. I've been out there quite a few times and helping out where they actually have the Skippy in real life to race. And so just being a part of that and being around the actual car in the flesh is amazing. So shout out to Keith and the team there. Thank you for everything you guys do.
And we are all wildly jealous. And
But if you guys need any video or photos or anything of the cars or anything, just let me know, and I'm more than happy to provide.
Oh man.
Fantastic. And then finally, Melody, race winner. Congratulations again. Any shout outs?
Yeah, shout out to everybody who was cheering me on today at twitch.tv/themelodychance. Everybody in chat going crazy for the win. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, we are now going to take about, let's say, a 4-minute break, and then we'll be back live for our Skippy Formula One race. And so, if you thought that Skippy Formula 2 race was great action, you have not seen anything yet. The Skippy Formula One drivers will be crazy, crazy fast. So we will see you in just a few.
Congrats, Melody. Well done. Great job, Dixon.
Good evening, race fans, and welcome to another exciting edition of Sunday Night Skippy Racing Action here from Winton Motor Speedway. We're going to be doing the national circuit tonight here in Winton, Australia. This is a 1.83 mile track. We've got some drafting, but mainly some technical corners. This is going to be great to watch. If you watched our Skippy Formula 2 race, you know exactly what we're in store for with our Skippy Formula 1 drivers. Joining me tonight in the booth and running all the cameras in place of our fan favorite Pim. So no pressure, Peter, but you've already done the BRL race this morning, the SF2 race earlier tonight. Now it's time for the big guns here, SF1. Are you ready to go?
Thank you, Chris. Well, I think you can see the retro theme. We're not as up to date as
We're getting there.
as Pim Luth. And
this is what happens when Pim leaves. We fall apart.
And I think we have to explain. It's of course right at the end of the summer, family obligations, work obligations, and importantly, illnesses have stretched us a little bit thin in the staff of the CAVOK Racing Network, and as a result, we're a bit on a shoestring tonight, but would not miss this chance to show these Skippy Formula 1 drivers in action at this Winton Motor Raceway.
Yeah, this is if Skippy Formula 2 is any indication, this is going to be a great race, and it was a great race in and of itself. Let's not get it twisted there, but we are in for a treat with right now 20 or so drivers here at Skippy Formula 1, and the action is going to be fast. It's going to be close racing, and we've got some fuel strategy involved too. So let's do this thing here tonight. Temperatures actually pretty cool, nice balmy 69 degrees, nice Fahrenheit, and really no atmospheric conditions here. This is just going to be on the racers to put on a great show for all the viewers and their fans.
Absolutely, and it does look like we'll have 22 drivers on track. All the drivers have just completed or are in the midst of completing their qualifying, and we should have shortly a grid. Right now, Leo Ovcharov is in the provisional pole position with a 129.3, which is just incredibly fast. But only a tenth of a second behind is Chris Herrera right now, and Adam Miles just right behind. There.
I do believe we've gone official. It looks like Justin's going to be given the old race briefing here. I'll try to talk with him in one ear for me here, so apologies if I mess him up, but we've got Leo Ovcharov on the pole. Great. They're eventually there. Yeah, there you go, 129, 293, just like you said there. Chris Herrera on the outside pole. Adam Miles, John Benham, Gherkin Demir, Jeff Jensen, Nick Mazza, Mike Bowers, RJ McKenzie, Scott Bell, and Brian Perez, Max Giacomo, Yancy Lin, BJ Wildboar, Nick Bacher, Steve Dewar, Jason Berkheimer, Andrew Cole, Jeff Torbeck, Justin Rebello, maybe racing. I thought he might not be racing tonight, but he may be racing here. Aaron Law and Alex Othon will be at the bottom there with no lap times set. So we'll see what happens. So it looks like Alex, I actually saw Alex in the Discord earlier saying he may not race based on his lack of practice. So Justin Rubello, Aaron Law, Alex Othon are TBD for the moment in my mind. But yeah, great field here tonight. Looking forward to it. And yeah, let's get going here. This is, like you mentioned there, Peter, we're ending the end of the season. So big race implications for battles throughout the field. It looks like Leo does have a somewhat, I wouldn't say comfortable lead, but a good lead over Adam Miles there for the first place. But, I'm looking down through here. Carl Dronke, Justin Rebello in a battle for fifth, tied right now. And they're surrounded on either side by lots of people here who every position is going to matter.
It is indeed. And, I think as these drivers really try to maintain position, we don't expect these Skippy Formula 1 drivers to make many mistakes. And just given how hard it is to pass on this track position might be everything. And we're noticing in the chat that Jeffrey Decker makes the note of the fact that the grid doesn't offset between P1, P2, and then P2 to P3. So in other words, P1 and P2 start side by side with P2 on the outside going into turn 1, which is the preferred line for that turn 1 entry. And so it'll be very interesting to see. We know Chris Herrera is a pretty bold, dynamic racer. He may actually try to take an early turn 1 lead over Leo Oftroff right at the start.
Yeah, I can't believe I didn't catch that in the SF2 race. It obviously they were side by side pretty well. Nobody seemed to get as good of a jump on one another, but that would explain it. No offset grid. That's going to add to the spice here going down to turn 1 with this extremely competitive field.
Absolutely. This is a 40-minute race. Skippy Formula 1 races oftentimes, in fact usually, are 45 minutes with fuel limited to require 2 refueling stops. But here we have only 40 minutes and enough fuel to make it to the end with just 1 stop for fuel.
Yeah, so for anybody who tuned in for the first time, maybe Skippy Formula 2, you saw 2 pit stops required. A little bit different strategy here for the Skippy Formula 1 race with only 1, but you can still try to use that to your advantage potentially. Mainly in the Skippy, because we have these nice robust, I guess, radial tires, street radials, it's not as important for like tire wear per se, like you'd see in an F1 race or even NASCAR or IndyCar. But yeah, it's certainly separating yourself from the traffic and gaining advantage with how much fuel that you actually need to put in the tank, going longer or shorter. So there's a little bit of a strategy there at play. Yeah, even though tire wear isn't necessarily a huge factor.
Right. The drivers are going through the pre-race drivers briefing. It's looking like that has just ended and that the cars are now starting to grid up. Yeah, and here we're seeing that is Chris Herrera on the outside in the teal and I guess you would call that pink car in P2, and then in the yellow and blue car alongside is our pole position Leo Oftroff. And here you can see what Jeffrey Decker was talking about. As they come into turn 1 at the end of this straight, turn 1 is a left-hander, which means that Chris Herrera has the outside position, but since it's a left-right, he then gets the inside position on the exit of that turn 1. And so we'll have to see how that plays out.
Checking in there, Sarah Bell checking in with the hope for not too much sliding. Yes, we hear that. Looks like we are getting ready to go racing here as the lights will go out, green flag, and it's a absolute drag race down there between the 35 and the 687. No position going to be changed there. It looks like Chris is going to actually seed that pretty well and not have any sort of advantage there coming out of the exit. So it's going to remain as they started all the way down through 17th, 18th position.
Indeed.
We are sorting out single file a lot quicker there than the SF1 drivers, although we got lose that Brian Perez. Who is that? A little further up.
Jason Berkheimer, I believe, got a little bit sideways and has lost position down P18.
Back at the P11, that looks like Brian Perez, Max Giacomo making contact, and ahead of them, RJ McKenzie's going to spin, go off track. He's able to regain control, and we'll get back on the track there. Brian Perez and Max Giacomo make contact once again. That's going to put him side by side now with, I believe that's Yancy Lin.
Boy, these opening laps are so treacherous. These tires, they just take 2 or 3, maybe even 4 laps to fully come up to temperature so you have maximum grip. And it can feel a little bit like driving on ice here.
These guys are going like crazy. It does look like Jeff Jensen is going to have a little bit of a hiccup there. That's going to allow quite a few drivers, Nick Mazda, Mike Bauer, Scott Bell, just a little bit ahead of what we were just looking at there. Actually right in front of Max Giacomo, to be honest with you. That is... Scott's going to be able to squeeze in there, and there you go. They're going to sort themselves out.
We are seeing Aaron Law coming into the pits for some reason, so something must have happened there.
I believe he may be serving I don't want to place a penalty on him if he didn't have one. But.
Oh, in fact, he may have had a penalty from. In fact, I do recall
right.
now the stewards had given him a drive-through penalty, and so he's just serving that.
There you
Meanwhile,
go.
back up front, we see Leo Trop is.
Oh! Sorry, Scott Bell is off the track big time. We will look back and try to see. Looks like he just went wide, tried to save it, and ended up collecting at least. Boy, I don't even know who that is here. Let's. Sorry, I'm on the wrong view for trying to analyze here. Max Giacomo.
Well, we are seeing a replay here, and he did seem to get very, very loose, and then just Max Giacomo had really nowhere to go around him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a Sarah Bell curse right there. That's not even a broadcaster's curse. That's a. All right, a little further back there. Let's look at P6. Mike Bowers, Nick Mazza going head to head. Mike Bowers up 2 spots right now. He is not your biggest gainer, but certainly in that that top 10. It's going to be Mike Bowers, Brian Perez, and Yancy Lin. Actually, we've got a bunch of people moving up 3 spots all the way through 13th there. So a lot of that has to do with the early race incident. But
Nick Mazza has shown some newfound speed. Oh, we do see.
We got more, way more.
Yes.
Oh! Wow, that's going to take a while to unravel there.
Yes. And so let's take a look at Max Giacomo and Steve Dewar in a crash. Here we is. This is a replay. Steve Dewar coming around. Oh, and we're not sure. Oh, there's. It looks like Andrew Cole had missed the corner here. Andrew Cole, and had slid back onto the track. Let's see what happens here.
I believe that was BJ. He was battling with Yancy, and he just got a little bit of loose, put the rear tires in the dirt. Drivers trying to make their way around, and then it looks like Steve was trying to get back on track and just kind of lost it.
Wow.
Yeah, interesting. Wow, okay, well, no rest for the weary. Real quick, let's check back up for that battle for the lead. You got Leo Optrop trying to hold off Chris Herrera, who's looking outside right now, going down the front stretch. And so far, so good for Leo. The top 5 spots remain unchanged in terms of position changes.
That's right. And after Leo Optrop and Chris Herrera is Adam Miles, John Bayman, and Gurkan Demir. Those are your top 5. We look further back in P6. We have that battle for P6, Mike Bowers and Nick Mazza. We were just saying Nick has newfound speed from some new equipment, new load cell pedals. He seems to be looking very, very racy there, and applying some pressure on Mike Bowers.
Hey, real quick, Peter, we got some feedback, and I'm seeing it now. The timing tower seems to be missing. So we'll get that back up for everybody here real quick.
And there we go.
And
thank you for the feedback.
We appreciate it.
Absolutely. We need all, but trust me, we need all the help we can get.
I believe that was Charles Weber, but yeah, anyway, we've got some still some great battles going on here throughout the field. Let's see, one we haven't talked about. Well, actually, let's give a shout out there to Jason Berkheimer up 5 spots, as well as Jeff Torbeck up 5 spots. They're your gainers for the evening right now. Jeff Torbeck is trying to hold off Scott Bell, who went off track there just a little bit earlier, and I believe that's Andrew Cole just behind them. Actually, no, I'm sorry, RJ McKenzie's leading that battle.
So here we have Jeff Torbeck really trying to chase down RJ McKenzie and slowly making up ground, and Scott Bell trying to regain the positions that he had lost. So we ride along here with Scott Bell. You can see, and he's going a little bit wide out of turn 3. but did not seem to lose much time. You can just see how hard these guys are pushing the cars as they go around this incredibly fast fourth gear sweeper. And then somehow you have to bring the car down to a first gear hairpin corner here. Sequence of 3 hairpins. 1, 2. Some drivers here will shift up to second very quickly, then back down for this final first gear hairpin. Oh, and Scott's getting some inside position. Jeff is going to hold on to it. And then finally the 4th hairpin as they come down here. This is a little faster, a little wider second gear.
We should point out to anybody who's potentially watching for one of the first times, this car, the Skip Barber from the 2000 here, doesn't have quite the horsepower and torque and all that you'd see on a Sunday morning or a Saturday for IndyCar, whatever it is. So going down to first gear, it feels a lot different. You just you need to keep that momentum and get a good corner exit because you're not. Oh, got us. Spinner right past Scott Bell. This is going to be Jeff Torbeck after making up some great positions there. Jeff, unfortunately, getting a little.
We're seeing the replay. He was trying to protect the outside line going into the turn 1 chicane and just overcooked it.
Great battle for P8 there. Jeff Jensen holding off Brian Perez and Sealand for 8th. Right now, Jeff down 2 spots. Brian up 2, and Yancey up 3.
Let's ride along with Brian Perez. And, you know, if you think about the pressure he's under, he's trying to chase down Jeff Jensen, but he knows he has Yancey Lin right on his own gearbox. Here we have this short little kind of back straight. He's getting inside position. This is a great place to try to make a pass. You compromise yourself coming out onto the front straight. It looks like he's getting all the exit he needs. Great pass there by Brian Perez. Meanwhile, Chris, we are over 9 minutes into this race, and so the refueling window, I think, let's see, is probably not quite open yet. Maybe another 5 minutes or so, but some of these drivers will probably be thinking about how they're going to protect their track position. For sure, these 2 drivers, Leo Ovtcharov and Chris Herrera in the lead, probably have that in mind.
Yeah, 100%. You know, we've seen Chris make good use of a good draft. Now, this may not be necessarily one of those tracks where you're going to get as good of a fuel savings from trying to draft, just because there's a lot of braking and accelerating. Not too many places where you're able to just coast and lift and still maintain that close gap to the car in front of you. But clearly happy to just be hanging out there as they continue to set blazing fast laps there. The last one was a 129.32, almost unreal. Great work there by the 35 and 687. They've worked out now a 2-second gap to third place Adam Miles, and you got John Damon right there, 0.4 seconds behind him, maintaining contact, and see what these 2 drivers can do. Maybe they come up with something a little bit different.
Well, John Bayman, Adam Miles, they were top finishers at the Nordschleife race last week, and you know, I think John is very familiar with Adam. Adam's very familiar with John. In fact, Adam, newcomer to the league, but he's recruited John Bayman to the league, and they've been instantly fast here.
Well, and that is about it. We've passed the quarter mark here of the race, and those are the battles throughout the field. Looks like Lin and Perez now getting into it. Perez is gonna give Lin the inside on that turn and file in behind. 68 car up 5 spots now, and it looks like Brian Perez is going to try to keep that train going with Jeff Jensen and Nick Becker, who has I don't think he was in contact with these guys for a little bit at least. So he's got some speed as he's trying to catch back up. He is running some very fast laps as well.
Well, indeed, and he's up 4 spots from where he qualified, running P11 right now, but a part of this train being led by Yancy Lin for P8. Quick update here, Scott Bell is slowly trying to make his way back up after that early lap incident. He's hunting down Jason Berkheimer. This is the battle for P13. You can see Jason is trying to, in fact, look like he yielded the position to Scott Bell. And so Scott has completed the pass and is now in P13.
He's only 3 spots down from where he started now, so slow and steady.
So, Chris, what do you think? Are Adam Miles and John Bayman, since they've been racing buddies, do you think they're working together to try to see if they can regain contact?
In the Skippy car specifically, usually I see them, especially drivers of this caliber for sure. But you look at the gap that Chris is maintaining on Leo, and it's 0.2, 0.4 seconds. Adam and John are a little bit further separated than what I would anticipate, but it does not seem to be hurting them. Once again, the draft here not as critical or strong. So I would 100% anticipate that these guys are chatting and working on something together. Although, that all being said, I think that the gap continues to widen. We're at 2.3 seconds now. We'll keep an eye on that as the laps continue on. I expect it'll be another few laps before we see some field stops. Although, we're probably starting to enter the field window here now, so I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think we're coming close. We're now here looking at the battle for P5, Gurkan Demir and Mike Bowers in that battle. And again, if you think about these top 6, it's Leo Ostroff, Chris Herrera, who just seem to be nose to tail. Adam Miles, John Bayman in P3 and P4, and here now Gurkan Demir and Mike Bowers in P4 and P5. And don't look now, but behind them we have Nick Matza, Yancy Lin, and Brian Perez. Now looks like they're going around back marker, but things have kind of heated up in that whole group, and these are all of our top 10 positions.
I think that's definitely going to be one of the battles groups to watch here, and we'll see if they decide to use the same pit strategy or separate themselves. This is what we were talking about earlier. Maybe it's not tire wear, but it's something you can do to separate yourself if you feel like you've got a little bit more pace and you can. We got a pass for P5 there. Mike Bowers making a move on the inside. Looks like Nick Gurkan Demir is amenable to that.
Let's take a replay on that and see. It's down the front straight.
Oh, Adam Miles is off track. Adam Miles is slow. Adam Miles is off track.
Oh, wow. We will take a look at that replay. We just saw the replay of the pass by Mike Bowers, and let's take a look here.
He had been leading that second group like we talked about.
Boy, something did not look right with Adam's car, did it?
Yeah, that's a mechanical issue of some kind, but yeah, he's able to.
And BJ Wildmore also has gone off track. Boy, we've just got a lot of replays to look at here. As he goes off track, but keeps it safe. And Scott Bell. You can see drivers are starting to push it just a little bit. They're keeping the cars pointed in the right direction at least. But let's go back to our live action.
Yeah, that'll be one to to go back and Zapruder a little bit later. But Adam Miles ultimately ends up losing 5 spots there. He's now sitting in P8 right ahead of Brian Perez. And then there's a great battle ahead of them. Nick Mazza announcing him for that 6th spot. So quite a shakeup there for, I'm not even sure what the heck was going on.
Yeah,
It
here
does look,
we do see Yancy Lin making a move, going into turn 3 and completing the pass on Nick Matza.
so with all of that, now the lead 2 here, Leo and Chris, have a 3.6 second gap over John Bainman, who no longer has his racing buddy. So at the moment, this is the Leo and Chris show, at least for the victory. John is in great shape here to take home a podium, but he's got Mike Bowers, who seems on a tear right now after all of that stuff happening, up 4 spots and starting to pull away just a little bit from Gherkin, who he just made a pass on a lap or 2 ago. And then don't look now, that 68 car of Lynn. I mean, he is on a tear at the moment, and pulling Nick Mazza, Adam Miles, and Brian Perez with him.
Absolutely. A driver we haven't talked about too much in the race yet is Andrew Cole. He's been running serenely in P15, running solid laps in the low 130s, so really fast, but really hasn't had traffic, hasn't had a draft partner to deal with, has been just running solid laps so far in this race.
I know we all like to race, and that's why we do the thing. But sometimes that's kind of nice.
Yes,
Just be able
it
to be
is.
out there and run your own race and have some fun. I'm not sure that Adam Cole is having a bad time tonight, even though he doesn't have anybody around him to race right now.
Let's talk about that, Chris. When you're racing, do you prefer just having some clear track during the race and not have to battle anyone?
Yeah, I would say once it's kind of sorted out that, especially on a track that's technical, and it kind of sorted who's fast and who's maybe not as fast and who's in middle fast. Like, yeah, that's kind of nice to get away from the craziness just for a little bit. But yeah, I think there's a competitive spirit in every single iRacer that does crave that wheel-to-wheel action from time to time. But I know there's more than a couple Sunday Night Skippy racers who are envious of Adam Cole right now in that 903 car.
Right. Here we're getting a bird's eye view as Leo Ostrup and Chris Herrera come around the last corner down the front straight. And, they probably are both pretty happy to be growing their gap over John Bayman, P3. John really suffering from not having a draft partner, and so Leo and Chris are able to stretch their leads. We do have a report that BJ Wildboar has crashed. Let's take a replay on that.
I do believe that's... Oh, yeah. Hot pit entry.
Yep, hot pit entry.
Yeah, we do have, by the way, Adam Miles ended up coming down pit road. Did not spend an inordinate amount of time down there, 13.7 seconds. I think that's pretty reasonable in your pit lane. So yeah, that's a weird one. I don't know if that was a mechanical issue that he had, but way off pace, way off track, and coming out right now in P16. Although he has pit, he and BJ really, Max and Steve also came down pit road, but that was lap 3. I don't think they're going to make it to the end.
Well, and now we do see Leo Ostrup has decided to come into the pits. Chris Herrera has stayed out on the track. And so
interesting.
Very, very interesting. We are past the halfway point in this race. We're at the 21-minute mark of this 40-minute race.
Yancy Lynn's coming down pit road as well. But yeah, Chris was running in second. That was his option to follow Leo or not, and clearly opted not to. Maybe hoping to just really go out there and tear this lap apart and hope to gain some separation. I don't know if he'll maybe do one more. Just basically, if he can go as long as possible without running into any back markers or issues. he's got to put just a little less fuel in that Skippy to
Yeah,
make it to the
absolutely.
end, which is going to help him on pit road. So
Yep.
see what happens.
Jeff Jensen, RJ McKenzie, Nick Backer, Andrew Cole, Aaron Law, all also in the pits. Jeff has completed his pit stop and is back out on track.
We'll keep an eye on that 35. He obviously is your leader with drivers who have made one pit stop. Obviously 687 there in the lead right now. The gap is, we're looking at 47 seconds, which is pretty significant, and we will find out. We're going to find out sooner than later, because here comes Chris.
Chris is in the pits.
So is John Bayman.
And yes,
Running in
and
third.
John Bayman, and so Leo Ovtcharov is coming down this little back straight.
Well, let's give real quick Mike Bowers his due. He will lead that lap. He is in the lead. Gurkin Demir in second place right now.
And so as Leo arounds this last corner, we'll get a bird's eye view here to see where
This is
Chris
going to be a lot closer
is
than
coming
the
up.
SF2 race. A lot closer.
And it's looking, will Chris come out in the lead? It does look like, will he be able to hold it? Is the big question. But it does appear that Chris Herrera has come out of the pits in the lead.
Oh, that last straight right there was probably impossibly long for Chris. He just wanted that to be a little shorter. Does look like they will be given room there.
Absolutely. Now we're riding along with Leo Ovtcharov as he tries to hunt down Chris Herrera. We know Leo is the type of driver who just is most comfortable when he is in the lead of a race. So he, in all likelihood, will not be happy to just stay behind for any amount of time there behind Chris Herrera. So it'll be very interesting to see what kind of tactics he shows here, whether he decides to be patient or if he's going to make a move. His next opportunity would come at the end of this straight or at the end of the front straight.
Yeah, you made the point earlier about how difficult it is to pass here, so I'm sure he's well aware of that as well. So patience is the better part of valor, as our old buddy Ian used to say. But you gotta try to make your move early and often here. There's no benefit in being in second on a track like this, I don't think. But and again, this is why I broadcast in no race.
Right, Chris.
He knows better than I do.
Chris is trying to make his car as wide as possible. You can just see the great exit speed that Leo gets here. Chris taking a defensive inside line. That's a great move because there are two right-handers here. It does compromise Chris's exit. And as they go side by side,
Wow.
Chris gets the advantage because it finally turns into a little bit of a sweeping left-hander here. But boy, that is some great wheel-to-wheel racing.
Amazing. Where we just, oh, Chris is going to lock it up a little bit.
Yes.
It does look like Leo had to check up. He could have maybe had a little bit better of a run, but he checked up just enough.
Yeah, Leo couldn't have been sure or certain that Chris wouldn't have washed out wide, and so I think Leo probably did the safe thing. But yeah, Chris actually held it together, and it would have allowed Leo to get past.
Strategy note, Mike Bowers down pit road, so he will relinquish the lead to Gurkin Demir, who remains out. Brian Perez, who was in third, will also come down pit road as we see Leo make the move on the outside here. Interesting move, very difficult because we got two right-handers coming up. Ooh, Chris drifts up just a little bit. Leo giving deference. Oh, a little over-under action there.
Right.
That's exactly what he was doing.
And Leo wants
Nice.
that outside line. These drivers both know that the outside line going to turn one can give you an advantage. Leo's trying to claim it. He's forcing Chris on the inside. And that's going to give Leo the advantage here and in the next two corners. Wow, what a move.
Oh man, oval drivers would be proud of that one. That's some great racing right there. Great strategy. Set Chris up. Not much you can do. Chris is one of the best drivers here, and yeah, I don't know, man. This is why I love watching this series. That was fantastic. Well, Gurkin Demir remains out front for the time being. He's got 25 seconds to lose. We saw a 42-second gap get closed up real quick there by Leo. So we anticipate Gurkin here coming into pit road. There it is. And we will pretty much cycle through everybody. Gurkin was the last person out who had not pit. So this is going to be the field as they stand. Any battles from here on out will be battles for the final position as we just tick over 27 minutes in our 40-minute race.
Just getting caught up here in a great battle for P8. And Nick Matza trying to hunt down Brian Perez. Brian doing a great job, just really just running a really beautiful defensive line through that tight technical section in the back of this course, keeping Nick Matza at bay. But Nick is anxious to get around and probably feeling a little heat from Jeff Jensen right behind him.
Just ahead of them, Mike Bowers has now gained 4 spots. He's climbed to 4th position. He was able to come out just ahead of Gurkin Demir, who retains his 5th starting position. So this one's going to be one to watch too, though, because both of these drivers have mad speed. Looking forward to seeing that. But yeah, closest action on the track right now, Brian Perez and Nick Matza.
One thing that's worth calling out about people like Mike Bowers and Gurkin Demir is they are just also fast in just any car. I've been just shocked at how fast both of those drivers have been in the new iRacing Formula IR04, the Formula 4 car. It's you think that it might take them some time to get up to speed, but they get world-class speed just instantly.
Yeah, it's a skill I wish I had, that's for sure. I do enjoy racing all sorts of different cars. Being good at them is something completely different. But let's see here. Battle for the lead remains tight. I think Chris is just going to have to try to set something up here with inside 11 minutes remaining now in the race. So not sure what he has up his sleeve. Other battles remain Gurkin Demir and Mike Bowers there for 5th. I'll tell you what, I don't know that we should go away from Brian Perez and Nick Matza here, because while the battle for the lead is heating up, we've got Jeff Jensen now has been closing that gap between these two. This is quickly becoming a 3-car battle, and I'm not sure, like you said, this is very difficult to pass. I just don't know where an opportunity is going to open up unless somebody makes a mistake.
Yeah, you do get the sense that Nick Matza has a little bit of a pace advantage over Brian Perez. You know, maybe just a 1/10 of a second per lap, something just tiny, but it does look like Nick is just a tiny bit faster as Nick sticks his nose literally under Brian Perez's gearbox.
Yeah, this is just one of those tracks where even if you're faster, it's like we say, Peter, right? It's one thing to catch a guy, it's another to pass him. It's two different equations there, and he's just sticking his nose where he can to try to gain an advantage.
Right, it's looking like
Heat up the mic there. I don't know what he was gonna say.
Yeah, I think Nick is just outbreaking Brian, but Brian is holding some great exit lines and is just able to reestablish his lead over Nick on the exits of these corners. Meanwhile, the scene from Jeff Jensen's car, we hop into his cockpit. You know, he's just watching this, and you know, Chris, when I'm in this situation, I'm just hoping that something bad happens to the cars in front of me.
That's pretty much all you can do.
He's getting a lot of dirt kicked up into his body. You can tell.
I was gonna say, clean that off, man. Come on.
He might be a little too busy to just pull a tear off here.
Well, I'll tell you what, Peter, let's take one look. One battle that I did not see coming here, P6. It's Yancey Lin and Adam Miles. Adam Miles with that, we're still unclear. We do not have a pit reporter, unfortunately, to let us know what happened, but these two drivers are absolute beasts on the track. We all know that. And even though it's for P6, where they're usually up there battling for podium or the win, this one's going to be a fun one to watch here as we finish the race.
Absolutely. We're hitting the
Oh.
30. Go ahead.
Sorry, P9. We've got Jeff Jensen. We were talking about Brian Perez holding off Nick Mazza. Well, Jeff Jensen thought he might have a shot at passing Nick Mazza to battle Brian Perez.
Well, let's see if we can catch a replay of that here.
Yeah, that ended up not working out too well. That's going to give Brian Perez just a little bit more breathing room, but really good effort there by Jeff to make the move.
Yeah, for sure. And great side-by-side driving on both their parts. You know, that's pretty much a hairpin. And Nick is reasserting his position there. But yeah,
It's so tough because you know you got to make the move. You got to do it. But once you do that, that's going to let Brian gain a little bit of a gap. So you got to kind of, now at this point, now that it didn't work, and you know that, just collect yourself again, get back up there, and you know, hope another opportunity presents itself. But the time continues to tick down here as we are about to go inside 7 minutes remaining.
up front, nothing really has changed here. But we do see that there's some lap traffic that's coming up, and so that could play a role here in this battle for the race lead between Leo Ovtcharov and Chris Herrera. Leo, for all the advantage that he tried to
P6? Sorry,
P6?
P6. We've got side-by-side racing. Adam Miles is going to outbrake Yancey. It looks like Yancey maybe lifted a little early to facilitate the
let's see
the not
if
running
we can
into each
catch a
other.
replay of that.
Adam Miles will make at least one more spot back.
Here we see Adam Miles really setting up a great inside position. This is, I guess you would call this a back straight, but just outbraking for that last corner before the pit entry and cleanly making the pass around turn 10.
Great racing by some great drivers. All right, well, yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. We got Leo and Chris remain locked together. Mike Bowers, Girk, and Demir. This is the battle for P4. They're pretty close, trying to chase down John Bayman. And, yeah, Adam, Yancey, and then Nick Mazza has refound the gearbox at Brian Perez, so we'll see how that goes. Jeff Jensen, after the attempt there to pass Nick, has fallen back just a little bit. Shades of about 5 to 7 laps ago when he was trying to catch back up between these two, trying to make a pass.
You know, the situation here, and I don't know, Chris, if you find the same thing, especially in your oval track racing, when you're Nick and you've followed and haven't been able to find a way around, you start to get over anxious. At least I do, and you can be prone to making mistakes. And if you're Brian and you've been able to hold someone off this long, you actually gain more confidence, you know, that you can hold it together. And so the psychology of this situation, I think, is pretty interesting. And we're seeing that also with Girk and Demir and Mike Bowers battle up for P4.
Yeah, I think especially as the driver in pursuit, you know, you're going to try different things, different lines, different tactics that you might be able to gain just a little bit of advantage. And when they stop working, you know, it can get a little frustrating, to your point. And then as the driver in front, you're seeing exactly what they're trying to do and can adjust accordingly. So that's the advantage to the person in front, especially in a track like this where there just is no real obvious opportunities to make it happen.
You can see Nick Metzer really on these slow corners just breaks deeper, but Brian gets great exits. And it's two different driving styles. Both seem to be equally effective around this track, but it does make for some really interesting racing. I'll move back up front. Really no change here. We are now down to 3.5 minutes left.
Yeah, the time is flying, Peter. I don't even know what in the world's happening here, but I'll tell you what just happened is we've got 2 purple laps set in the same lap. Leo and Chris just
Wow.
both set a 128.713. On one of my overlays, it says they both set it. On one, it says Leo got it. I'm sure it's down to the 10,000ths of a second or whatever it is. But man, these guys are flying through this track.
They certainly are. Quick update here. We also have this continuing battle between Mike Bowers and Gurkan Demir. Again, no change there. And it's just, just like Chris Herrera looking for some way to get past Leo Ovtrup. Here we have Gurkan Demir looking for any way around Mike Bowers. And then Nick Matza, the same thing around Brian Perez. Although, again, it's looking like Brian is stretching out a little bit of a cushion.
Well, I'll tell you who's not stretching out a little bit of a cushion. Lynn has really gotten back up into Miles's gearbox there. That's going to be a fun one to watch there right at the end. I think these guys realize that they're not making it all the way back up there, so game on.
Absolutely. These drivers using every inch of the track allowable. Just putting a few tire treads on the gravel.
I was going to say, I've seen a lot of what might be considered rally racing here tonight, but, whatever works. I'm not tracking the off tracks. We do have 10, 11, 10, 10. So.
Back up to the lead. I think they will come around.
Is this it?
Yeah,
Where are we?
and probably receive the white flag this time around.
Yes, I would imagine that this will be the white flag lap coming up here. That's proved as Leo gets a really nice run off there. Chris was able to close it, but that's so tough. It's a little, unless you mess up the exit as the car in front, getting that late braking into corner entry usually means you're not getting as good of a corner exit usually. So it's a little misleading, but here we go. We will in fact get the white flag from Barney as they cross the start-finish line. And this is going to be it. We've got a couple great battles throughout the field. Leo and Chris, Mike and Gurkan, Adam and Yancey, Brian and Nick. Who's going to come home victorious
Right.
with all these battles throughout the field?
And you'll have to bear with the camera work as we've tried to flash back and forth. See Gurkan Demir just putting some overlap on Mike Bowers and finally getting him in turn 3. But Mike Bowers is not giving up yet.
It's going to be another right-hander.
But now there's a sweeping left-hander, and Mike could get an advantage here. And indeed, he does. He's able to lose the overlap on Gurkan Demir. And that, wow. Now let's jump right back to this other battle. It looks like Brian Perez is safely ahead of Nick Matza. We'll jump back up to the lead. And Leo Truff.
Okay, yep. Do that, but actually come back to P6. We got Adam Miles and Yancey Lynn. These guys are this. And a quick broadcasting note: Jeff Jensen down pit road one more time. I will keep you updated on the battle for the lead. They're going to come around the last 2 turns. Leo definitely has this.
Yancey Lynn has just tried to squeeze on the outside and had to lock up the brakes, and that has allowed Adam Miles to firmly claim P6. But boy, that was some great side-by-side racing.
Leo's going to take the win. Chris Herrera in second. Great racing by those guys. John Bainman in third. Sorry. Mike Bowers, Gurkan Demir, Adam Miles, Yancey Lynn, Brian Perez, and Nick Mazza coming around the final turn. It does look like Brian's going to be able to hold the 3 car off.
Looks like Mike Bowers has yielded to. Not too sure what was going on there. Oh, I think they were past. This is the ceremonial. We're done with our cars.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's it. For all intents and purposes, I think. We do have some drivers finally coming across or crossing the finish line for the final time is what I meant to say. Waiting for the official results to pop up before we crown the champion, but I think it's safe to say congratulations to Leo Avtaros, also with the fastest lap of the evening with a 128.7. Just a great performance. Really like that move that he set up on Chris to make the pass. Really great quality pass, but and that's tough to do because Chris Herrera is one of the fastest, best drivers that we got there. So great to see.
Absolutely.
John Bainham, congratulations there on the podium as well. Mike Bowers up 4 spots in 4th, Kirk and Demir in 5th, and Adam Miles, unfortunate early mid-race circumstances there, going to put him in P6 ultimately, but great broadcast for us because we got to see him battle the 68 of Yancey Lin there, who was up 6 spots and is our highest climber of the evening in P7. Brian Perez in P8, Nick Mazza, and RJ McKenzie are going to round out your top 10. Scott Bell able to claw his way back all the way to 11th with Nick Bacher, Jason Berkheimer, Jeff Torbeck, Andrew Cole, Aaron Law was also up 5 spots, and Jeff Torbeck, I should say. So they're your runners up for highest climbers. And then Max Giacomo, Jeff Jensen, Steve Dewar, BJ Wildboar, and then we had Justin Rebel and Alex Othon in the race, but did not race. So there you go. That's going to be the finishing results for tonight. Was a lot of fun to watch. Let's start bringing some folks in so that we can have a little chat because that was. I'd rather hear from them than hear from us there, Peter. I don't know
Absolutely.
what you think.
Take it away, Chris. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's start at the bottom of our Discord channel here and work our way up. We've got Brian Perez. Man, we focused on you a lot. You were I don't think you had a moment to yourself there throughout the entire race. Tell us about kind of what you saw and what your strategy was.
My main strategy going into this race was to get as like hydrated as possible because I kind of figured what
Smart.
we were getting into.
Smart.
So I had a lot of sweat to spare. I needed it. I mean, running down Jeff Jensen and then having Mazza just on my tail for the entire end of the race. Heart's pounding. I'm just really glad I drank that one. I think that was the key to success here.
Well, we thank your heart because it was great to watch, and hopefully the fans thought so as well. Yeah, man, you did a great job to hold him off there at the end. Up 3 spots total to P8. You got to be pretty happy with that. This is a tough track to pass and defend.
Yeah, I was having some great racing with me and Max were having a battle at the beginning of the race. Me and Mazza had some great battles going on. Yangshi Lin, me and him were kind of sorting out where to go. I got to slow down trying to outrun him because he's too damn quick. I mean, this track's just so small, tight, and technical. It's definitely a defender's track for sure. You have to be really, really, really smart about where you attempt a pass to go by. Because, not only do you have to think about completing the pass, you got to think about everybody else and how fast they're going. And, if you slow the 2 of you down, you're going to get caught by 5 or 6 cars real quick trying to make these passes in these tight corners. So I just tried to take the opportunity where it was going to be the quickest and keep me and Nick going there. That's why I pitted when I did, just to try or he pitted a little earlier. I stayed out to try to overcut him. Ended up coming out of the pits next to him in turn 1. So all in all, just a really exciting race.
Well, man, it was great to watch you. Hopefully, you watch that back from our perspective as well because you put on a heck of a show. So, congratulations. We'll come back to you tonight for some shout outs, but I want to move on here now. Up 1 to Chris Herrera, who ended up starting second, finishing second. Tell me a little bit. I want to start with the qualifying because these are not offset grid positions here. How did you feel about your start there? From what I understand, it seemed like that might be the P2 position might be the one to have in the beginning, but maybe not so when you got Leo Avtarov next to you. I don't know.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. So
Okay.
if you get a good jump or even an average jump, the P2 position is actually pretty good. But Leo got as good. I actually think he got a little bit of a better jump than I did. So considering his pace this week as well as in the practice session, as well as the qualifying. I knew that he very likely had the pace on me today, although I felt good in general. So my general strategy was to just stay behind him and fuel save as much as possible, which on this track is very, very difficult, except I found that going into T1 was sort of the best way to do any fuel saving. And then somehow we were able to, Leo was able to pull a gap while I was drafting him from Adam behind us. And then at that point, I decided I'm not going to battle until after the first pit stop. And somehow I came out ahead of him in the pits, and I was able to defend for one lap. But this is a defender's track unless you're going against Leo, and then it's you got to be perfect.
Well, that was my next question. Obviously we've got the retro logos up. I don't know if you heard, but with Pim out, we had to scrape something together. Thank you to Peter for doing that. But speaking of retro, you've come a long ways from the running on empty days, I'd say, even though hopefully the crew's still together. But that pit stop was really well executed. You ended up coming out in front of him. How do you at that point? Obviously, were you anticipating that, and how did that change kind of how you approach the race? I mean, it was only I guess for a little bit, unfortunately, but
Right. So I wasn't necessarily anticipating it, but I was hoping for it, and I wasn't super surprised considering I knew I was able to do a little bit of fuel saving. And my strategy after I've learned from a couple of races this season is that if Leo has the pace on me, which is usually the case, then if I can't go into the pits with him, then I'll go one lap after just so I can try to stay in his draft. But in this case, I was able to come out ahead of him, and I was able to defend for one more lap. But then after that, it was pretty much over.
a tough track to pass at. And but either way, well done on the P2 there. We'll come back to you as well. I want to move on though to the 37 car there of John Bayman, who had a great race, finishing on the podium, up one spot total. I just want to hear about what you saw out there. It looked like there was a lot of close racing.
Yeah, for sure. I think in general, from my experience this week, my goal was I want to qualify P4 or higher, which I did because I knew with the side by side grid, especially with my pace, I knew I could probably squeeze into P4, and if I ended up P5, it'd be a pretty big disadvantage for getting top five and make it a lot more challenging. So succeeded there. Then from there, I was like, I didn't even want a good start off the line because I knew Adam was probably going to have good pace and we'd be able to hopefully follow Chris and Leo, which that wasn't the case. They were on another level today. So at the point where we started falling a little back, I just stuck with Adam because I knew if I started trying to fight Adam and getting around, it was just going to slow us down more. Then I'm not really sure what happened. It was like T1, I think. Adam had something. I think he might have hit the curbing too hard or something. And then from there, it was kind of just go, just flat out push as hard as I can. And I came out of the pits, once Mike had pitted, I was like 2 seconds ahead of him. So I was just like, don't mess up. Just, don't push too hard. Just have a good, clean rest of the race. And it's kind of just alone by myself there trying to push, hoping Leo and Chris would fight a little and I'd catch them. But no, they were on another level today. So props to them.
Well,
Good
I was
race.
Yeah, absolutely. That actually reminds me of that incident. I don't know if you were in comms with Adam or what. Hopefully, we can get a good read on exactly what happened. But it seems. Do you feel like your hopes were dashed, or you were more encouraged to go catch those guys once Adam fell out?
Honestly, funny enough, I feel like I was probably feeling better after that. It was unfortunate. I think pace wise, I was pretty on par with Adam, so it would have been fun to battle him. Rest of the race, see what happened. That would have been a good race with him. But once that occurred, I was 95% positive I wasn't catching them, so it was pretty much just get as big of a distance away from Mike as possible, which I think I succeeded pretty well at, and then from there just take the P3.
Well, it was a great, well executed race overall, man. That's a tough track and a tough field. So, well outperforming the average finish you had for the season tonight. I'm gonna change the order up because we got a couple new comers to the Discord channel here, and we'll go back down. Guy we were just talking about, Adam Miles, man. Great, qualifying effort, and I guess the question on everybody's mind is just kind of what happened there on that front stretch.
Yeah, it was just one of those days. I've had my wheels and pedal now for 3 years, and for the first time, I just coming out of turn 2, the pedals just gave me nothing, no throttle, no brake, no clutch, and I was just coasting up the hill towards turn 3, pulled off to the side of the road, just about to quit out, and then they just come back to life again, and I'm able to rejoin the track between 3 and 4 with a slowdown, no speed, cars coming up behind me, so I cut turn 4 so I don't get in anyone's way, get another slowdown, and so and then the pedals were fine for the rest of the race. So I'm gonna have to get my head down there and see if there's any loose connections or something. But that's the first time that's ever happened to me.
Well, that's what we had surmised to some extent. It looked like the car was a little bit under control, at least enough for you to be able to pull over, and very sportsman move of you there. But yeah, unfortunate to see. That being said, from our perspective as streamers, broadcasters, it led to a very awesome battle between you and the 68 car of Jan Seeland there toward the end. Talk to us a little bit about what it was like battling it out with him for that. P6 position, sorry.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Yancey had great pace. Managed to reel him in, and then yeah, we were dicing for a few laps, and he was right there. And even on the last lap, he was so much quicker through the hairpins actually than I was. That he got a great run down into, I think, 3 corners to go last lap. Had to defend, and he went down the outside, and it was a lot of fun. It made the last 10 laps sort of gave me something to chase. So congrats to him. Actually, he was really quick.
Awesome. Well, congrats either way. Unfortunate circumstances. We talked about it in the stream. Just you hate it when that is what takes you out. But either way, it was a nice recovery, keeping your head straight, and walking away with a good finish and a great battle there at the end. So it was fun for us. So thank you for that. Also finishing one of our, I would say top finishers with the most positions gained. We got Mike Bowers up 4 spots, started P8, finished P4, and just ran, from what I could see, a very solid race. You had some battles throughout. However, it did not look like you were ever under any pressure, and just kind of was out there doing your thing. How did that feel tonight, Mike?
It was actually a lot of fun. I finished that race with no X's, so 0 X'd, and there was pressure. Gherkin was coming pretty hard at the end, so that was a good fun fight. And I actually came in here to apologize. I don't know, RJ and I had some contact, and I had no idea he was to my inside. So he should submit a review there, because I don't know if I cut him off or he snuck in there. But anyway, no, it was a lot of fun. I almost didn't race tonight. I haven't had a lot of practice here. I ran 2 pubs, and I was like, man, I'm way out of it. So I wasn't going to race and decided to jump in, and it was better than I thought. So
Awesome. Yeah, that'll be one to look at there between you and RJ. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, that was early on. I'm just looking at it now, lap 1, but yeah, hopefully it doesn't plus you too much there. It was a great overall effort, and notwithstanding any of that, yeah, a P4 finish up 4 spots for a race that you didn't even think that you maybe wanted to do. Yeah, I'll take that. Thank you very much.
yeah, it's good.
Well, let's skip to the man of the hour here. Leo Avtrov started first, finished first, and but none of it, I'm sure, was easy. You had a rear view mirror and sometimes a forward-facing view full of that 687 car of Chris Herrera. Just talk to us about how you kept cool out there and made it happen.
Yeah, that was definitely the most important part, was keeping calm, being smooth, not making too many mistakes, and trying to be as clean and consistent as I could possibly be out there on this track, because this track is very, very difficult. Like everybody says, very difficult to pass, much better to defend. But I figured Chris had an advantage coming into the first pit stop, because he seemed like he was saving a lot of fuel, where I was not. So that ended up being true, and we had a really, really good fight. And I was fortunate enough to be able to sneak my way by him, and just kept my nose clean, and brought it to the end. So thank goodness for that.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about that pass that you put on Chris there toward the end. I believe it was the last 2 corners, if I'm remembering correctly. But just talk to us about how I don't, and you don't have to if you don't want to, if you don't want to give away the trade secrets or whatever. But passing Chris is not an easy task. And as the other Chris here, the slower Chris, I'd like to know what was going through your mind, how you set that up and executed it.
Um, it seemed as though there was a little bit of advantage going through the exits on the corners with a little bit of draft from Chris. So I tried really, really hard to set up a couple of passes. They kind of didn't work. So at the end, I believe I made the pass on turn 1, 2 in one of the last few laps. So we were able to go side by side together. So I was on the outside of turn 1, he was on the inside, and then I ended up on the inside of turn 2, set up much better with a little bit of a gap. So I was able to slot back in to take the lead into turn 3, and that was pretty much it. Then like I said, tried to keep my nose clean, tried to stay consistent, and it worked. Fortunately, I mean, it was definitely not easy at all, especially having like Chris breathing down my neck the entire race. Staying consistent and clean was of utmost paramount. Otherwise, one tiny mistake, one slide too wide, and he'll just send it up into the inside, and I'll lose that position.
Well, I've got one more question for you before we hand it over to hellos and shoutouts and whatever. But you got a pretty good lead heading into this race. I'm sure this will extend it just a little bit further. What's your mindset going into week 12?
Pretty much the same as every week. Just try to do my best. Try not to let my nerves get the best of me, and come what may.
There you go. I love it. Well, we'll tell you what. We'll give you first right refusal here for anybody who might want to say hi to or thank, even if they are or are not listening.
Thank you to everyone that's watched the broadcast team, of course, everybody that came out to race tonight, to Chris, to Mr. John, to Mike, to Adam, to everybody in Shake and Bake, to Jexy who's at home, and to Jeffrey and Lando, and yeah, just everybody that made it out. I appreciate it. I know this is not everybody's favorite track, but we had a pretty strong field today, so I'm glad for that.
A lot of fun to watch, man. Congratulations on the victory. On to you, Mr. John Bayman.
Yeah, honestly, just shout out to you guys for the broadcast. Shout out to Chris and Leo for giving me something to chase and getting a good view of their battle up ahead. Shout out to my fiance. She actually, I posted it in the Discord, but she made me jerseys for my birthday for the number 37 for me. So that's pretty exciting. That was fun to wear today. And yeah, just thanks everyone for the good race.
I'll tell you what, those were instant hits in the Discord. I can't believe I even forgot about those. Everybody wants one now, just so you know. Those are great. A plus gift there. Chris Herrera, what do you got?
First of all, Chris, always good to hear you, especially after a long absence. So thanks for coming out. Always puts a smile on my face when I hear your voice. Shout out to Running on Empty, as well as Skippy Dogs, my Pro-Am teammate, Michael Rebeck. And I think that's pretty much it. And again, congrats to Leo on the win and John Beeman on the running at the podium. Thanks, guys.
Awesome, Chris. Well, yeah, hopefully we get to talk a little bit more than on these post-race interviews every once in a while. And I know that Michael Reback was watching and shouting out the Skippy Dogs there. So well done on the P2 finish for your team. Mike Bowers.
Well, ultimately, just you guys for doing the broadcast every week. It's a time commitment. You guys make it, and it's pretty cool. And I have been a little on and off this summer, so it's good to catch up by watching the race reviews and things. So I appreciate that. Just thanks to all the people in the league that make it fun, Gherkin for battling hard, and John for running away from me. But no, it's good fun. I appreciate it, and look forward to it. Thank you, guys.
Oh, thank you. And obviously, this was a PIM Appreciation Day, Peter. I'm sure you'll agree. But yeah, we will tighten things up, get a little bit better. But and we wish PIM all the best. But we'll do everything we can to make sure that the stream gets put on every Sunday because we know how important it is to everybody. But so thanks for that, Mike. And let's see, we're on to Adam Miles.
Oh, just yourself for doing the broadcast. Sounds like there was maybe a bit of short notice involved, so it's always appreciated, everyone who's involved in that. And then congrats to the podium, Leo, Chris, John. Great qualifying, all three of them. Great race, and to Yancey because he gave me a lot of enjoyment in the last half of that race, even if I wasn't at the front. So congrats to him as well.
Yes, thank you to you both for giving us all a little bit of fun to watch there. That's one of the things that we've always loved about SNS, even if it's not racing for the lead. There's some great skilled drivers throughout the field that always put on a hell of a show. So appreciate that, Adam. And on to Flyby, man. What you got for us?
Oh man, well, I'd like to give a shout out to both the broadcast and Steve Dorr for not roasting me last week when I sent Steve like flying into the barrier at the Nordschleife. So shout out to you guys. I totally deserve to get roasted there. Sorry, Steve, again. We talked about that already. So yeah, unfortunate circumstances, but thankfully with this league, everybody's pretty cool. So shout out to Steve. Shout out to you guys. Shout out to Dunkel the cat at Middleton Brewing in San Marcos, Texas. His fur is really soft. And shout out to my friends at twitch.tv/Flybright9 because, you know, I love those guys.
Yo, Dunkel.
Love it, man. Yeah, hey, shout out to all the flyby viewers out there as well. I'm one of them as well. Man, what a great race, Peter. Any final thoughts for us as we go into our final week next Sunday? Uh, and I don't know, just overall, man, this is what a crazy summer it's been, and this all obviously brings a lot of people joy. Thank you, Peter, for stepping up to actually do the production of this. I don't think people really understand how complicated and difficult it is and can be, especially when you're just kind of thrust into the role. So, Peter, man, any final thoughts?
Well, and I have to give a big thanks to you and to Pim, and I don't think people realize how much both you and Pim helped me just to get up to speed so that I could put together at least a basic broadcast tonight. And then, I was pretty nervous about whether we'd be able to pull it off, whether it would work out. But as you were saying right during the broadcast, Chris, that 40 minutes just flew by. The racing action was so great. And so just thanks to everyone on track for putting on such a great show.
Yeah, absolutely. It's man, it did not feel like 40 minutes had passed, to your point. These guys are just a lot of fun to watch week in, week out, and we look forward to it next week as well. Hopefully, everybody can join us. Hopefully, we will have the updated logos, which I'll help Peter out with. I'm not going to put that completely on you, absolutely. And yeah, just shout out to everybody who is watching right now. We'll watch, the video on demand later, and friends and family, and that's really kind of who we do this for. We've said it a couple times in both the earlier broadcasts this morning and SF2, and I believe in SF1. But that's the important part is making sure that families and friends can participate in this awesome hobby with their loved ones, and that's why we know it's important. So we'll continue to do everything we can to continue bringing the action to everybody every week. And even though it's amateur, we love it. So have a great week, everybody. Take care of each other, and we'll see you next Sunday. Same bad time, same bad channel.
Cheers, everyone.